Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 208 Fantasy Football Show. It is June 13th. I'm your host, Matt, and with me is Justin. And we are going to be bringing up the AFC East breakdown today. And it all starts right about now. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in on this Thursday evening. Justin, how you doing, sir?
Good. Got some exciting news. We actually are under contract to sell our house, so we got our house off the market in a week. So
Yeah, it
it
doesn't surprise me.
moves super fast. I should have put it up for more money, but I'm happy. I'm happy someone liked it. So
Outstanding, outstanding. I think that's super exciting. On to new adventures for sure.
yes, sir.
So just to be clear, not leaving the show, just leaving the town. So
Yes,
we're
sir.
we're we're good. We're good. Uh, well, let's jump into it. Let's what we always do. Let's get into the news.
What's going on?
What?
Just some of the news that I had been waiting to come down was the tampering charges that I feel like the NFL has been talking about since the draft, maybe the end of the season. But the Eagles and the Falcons, with some free agency tampering with Saquon, and then the Falcons got hit with like Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney and the Charlie Warner kid. So the Eagles actually didn't really receive anything. The Falcons did end up losing a fifth round pick in 2025, as well as their GM got fined and the team got fined. So nothing crazy. So from what I've heard is the Falcons actually got in contact with Mooney, Warner, and Cousins during the legal tampering thing, during the legally tampering time period, but they were just giving them like flight plans and like doctors and like trying to get things forwards and stuff like that. So kind of interesting. A lot of people were saying that the Falcons were going to lose a first round draft pick and have to give it to the Vikings, and I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. So I'm glad it's just a fifth rounder, but I mean, it is what it is. Like we still got our quarterback, so I'm happy. Um, Another one, Waller finally announced he retired. I feel like he's been dragging that on forever, making rap videos, all that stuff. So it's kind of interesting. Like, what do you think that means for Bellinger or Theo Johnson? Are you gonna have try to get any buys of them?
No, no, I'm not gonna make shares of those guys. Everybody knew Waller was gonna retire. I don't think it really increased any of the Titans ADPs at this point. Not interested. I guess I'm more of a wait and see with those two guys and see what happens. But
Yeah,
nope, I'm passing.
yeah, that offense is kind of tough to buy into as well. Aaron Rodgers again likes to be Aaron Rodgers and likes to be in the news. He decided to skip all of minicamp, and his reason was it was a very important event to him. Whatever that is, like I mean, it's his choice. It does scare me. We'll go more in depth with us hitting the AFC East today with the Jets, but it is a little concerning. But I feel like I could give some good news for those Garrett Wilson people like me that need a little bit of reassurance, as well as Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, Alvin Kamara, and Jamar Chase are all skipping minicamp to try and get some money. What do you think about that, Matt?
It doesn't bother me. I mean, they're all veteran guys. You hate them see the mandatories, especially where there's new coaches on certain teams. But I'm not really worried about it. If they can get their bag at their tail end of their career, let them do it. It can backfire for us as fantasy football owners for sure. We've seen it in some cases. It's still a little bit early for me to be concerned, but I'm not overly worried about it. We'll see how it goes. It should be fine. I hope.
And then two more. So I'm going to save the best one for last. So Sam Darnold is listed as a starting quarterback right now for the Vikings. Again, maybe he starts the first four games. I trust JJ to go out there and start, but I think they're going to put Sam Darnold out there for some trade bait and say, hey, he can't play. Maybe a quarterback goes down late and says, hey, like Sam Darnold can play. He plays really good in this offense. Kind of like the Cardinals did a little bit with Josh Dobbs last year, and he ended up getting traded to the Vikings for. It was a pretty low pick, but I mean, give Sam Darnold some real looks and maybe get some back for him. And then the last one that came down today, I think maybe an hour ago, was Trevor Lawrence getting $275 million over 5 years, a $200 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid quarterback in the league with Joe Burrow.
which is insane to me. He hasn't done anything yet. I thought this was like going to be our make or break year for him. He's going to have to really show, and they said, "Nope, we believe in you. Let's pay you. I think that's guaranteed 200 million if I'm not mistaken. So that's 25 mil guaranteed. Hey, good kudos for him. I think that changes a whole lot for the Dak Prescott. I don't know what Jerry Jones is doing. Again, they're kind of waiting. I don't know. I don't get it. What are you going to do with him now? He's just going to cost more, in my opinion. So we'll see. The other one is Jordan Love, which we talked a little bit about. I don't know. He might get this money. Jordan Love might get this level of money.
Yeah, I definitely I think Jordan Love will either get the 55 million a year like Trevor and Joe Burrow, or he might surpass it. Just depend. Like he played really well last year. I mean, I feel like Joe Burrow. I mean, Jordan Love has done more than Trevor Lawrence, and like again, like you said, like Trevor Lawrence. I get it. Maybe as a franchise, like
Do you?
make him bet on himself a little bit. I don't know. That's a lot of money. So I mean, like Matt says, like you got to get out in front of these contracts, especially quarterbacks. Or I just feel like you're just going to eat more money than you probably should.
Yeah, and maybe that's why they did it. Let's jump out. There's nobody they liked coming down the pike. They're still invested in him. Look, he's a very talented quarterback. He hasn't had the best weapons around him yet. Maybe they're just trying to lock him in so they can get some weapons around him. It seems to be coming. I'm okay with it. I'm glad he got it. It's just there's proactive. I guess my question, Justin, in this case for Trevor Lawrence, does this impact his fantasy value? Right, knowing he went and got his bag already before coming out. Do you think this impacts his fantasy value? I have to look up his current ADP. Just I'm curious, but just to start with that. Do you think it impacts his fantasy value?
I think dynasty it has to. Like whenever guys get paid, like even like we can look back last week with Nico get paid. Like I think his ADP has had to jump at least a couple spots just because you have that security now. And like Matt said when we were doing the draft process, like it was nice to see the Jaguars invest in wide receiver with Brian Thomas. Again, I don't know if Brian Thomas is going to hit. They went out and got Gabe Davis too. They have two really good running backs, I think, in Tank and Trevor and ETN. So I think it's got to like he's there for 5 years. He's a starting quarterback there for 5 years. It's hard to get off those contracts. So I think dynasty wise it'll impact it, but I think redrafts not so much.
So here's a sneaky pick, and maybe it's just me thinking it's sneaky, and it's not that sneaky. I 100% agree with you in Dynasty. If you can go get him cheap right now, go ahead and do it. Like at worst, he's a 2, but what if, right? He is their guy now for the next 5 or whatever 4 things go out, and he can be your number. He can turn into a number 1, incredible value. In redraft right now, he's going in at 102 in the six in as quarterback 16. So okay, maybe that seems appropriate, but I'm kind of thinking maybe all right, maybe he will say, hey, I'm going to go out and play and show you what I can do now that I've got my bag and now with some new weapons around him. Maybe he's not quarterback 16. Could he finish as a top 10 quarterback? Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
If it's right. So there's some value there to keep in mind. If you need to get a quarterback late in a gamble, yeah, Trevor Lawrence isn't a bad pick at all.
Yeah, the one thing that I wish they would just let him run a little bit more. He's a lot more athletic than people think. Like he got a lot of comps to like Peyton Manning coming out because they're just both big and strong. But like Trevor Lawrence is a good athlete and he could run a little bit. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that is our news, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you like the show, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any of our go live and our shows. Man, we enjoy the comments. Drop some comments. Join us on our other platforms as well, which is X, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and I believe now Apple Podcast. Right?
That's yes, it, right?
Sir. Perfect. So we're all over the place. We just like talking football. So enjoy that. I'll put that up here. We'll run it through. Kind of next up, we are going to break down the AFC East, ladies and gentlemen. We did that last week. I think we found a lot of value in it. These are players we want you to target. We like what they see, their target shares, and their ADP, and where there's value in this division. The AFC East is a very interesting division, and we're going to jump into it just right now with the New York Jets. Justin, let's talk about the Jets.
Geez, the Jets. It was so funny doing my research for this division because it felt like it was two teams and then two polar opposite teams. So you have two of the top five scoring offenses and then two of the bottom five scoring offense. So it's just a really weird dynamic between the two. So anyway, with the Jets, so I'm gonna go over kind of their offensive stuff, then we'll be in the position. So the Jets were 31st in total offense, 30th in passing offense, 22nd in rushing offense, and 29th in scoring offense. They are truly middle of the pack when it comes to running gap versus zone. So they run both of those. With the additions with Simpson, Moses, and Olushanu, I expect them to run more power, some more gap scheme. One thing with Hackett is he was running a lot of 12 personnel. So I'm going to go over a lot of personnel today and kind of just give you the dummy version of each one. So the first number is number of running backs, so 1, and then 2 is the number of tight ends, and the rest is your wide receivers. So they're in 12 personnel quite a bit. They like that. They like that 2 personnel. They do have 3 pretty good wide receivers, so maybe they go to a little bit more 11 personnel, which is mostly what the NFL likes to do. Their run pass percentages, I believe they are right down the middle of the pack. They were 43 and 57, right around there. So they kind of go half and half. Again, I don't think Nathaniel Hackett is a very good play caller. I think he got a job because Aaron Rodgers is there. But that's kind of their stuff. Like they were a really bad offense last year with a lot of stars on their offense. So Matt, I'll toss it over to you. We can go position.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing to add to that too is remember, and we all know this, Aaron Rodgers got injured, so I think the pass runs would have been skewed a little bit differently than it was last year. But I agree with everything else you're saying there. So we're going to start off quarterbacks and Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers at ADP currently, based on our stuff, is 119, right? So 119th average pick, right, for that. I believe that's pretty good value. Right, I still am an Aaron Rodgers believer. I've always believed him. He just seems to get it done when he's healthy. Obviously, last year didn't help, but he seems to find ways to win. He seems find ways to win and get it done, which is super cool. At the 119 value, okay, he's worth a shot. I mean, he's way down there in QB 19, right? You could wait on QB. QB depth is very deep this year. Hold off, get your other guys, and we've got draft the way we like to draft whatnot, either zero running back or hero running back or that type of stuff. But I like Aaron Rodgers. I think you're going to see a bounce back from him if he can stay healthy. I think he's going to get that team up and running.
I hope so. I mean, with all this offseason news, he just keeps being it. Like he just wants to be the belle of the ball. One thing that people should be less concerned about, like with Aaron Rodgers and the injury history, all that stuff, they did sign Tyrod Taylor, who is a very capable backup. He has been good since the Bills. Like he's very capable. I think he's way more capable than Zach Wilson to run an offense. And you'll still see a drop off, but I don't think it'll be substantially amount. You'll probably get more touchdown production from Garrett Wilson. I really think they're going to lean on Breece Hall this year. Like I think that offense runs through him. He's the stud of that offense, but we'll talk more about that in a second.
Yeah, remember, Aaron Rodgers doesn't take a lot of hits. He tends to get the ball very quickly, right? As in his older, he can still get the ball downfield. I 100% agree. They're gonna rely on Breece still, like they did last year. But I do think he's going to get him. If you believe, I guess my thought is, if you believe in Garrett Wilson, don't you kind of have to believe in Aaron Rodgers, right? He's the one throwing to him. So again, you can wait on that, so on and so forth. We just talked about it. We'll talk about RB Breece Hall. He is number 4 ADP. Makes the most sense. He is legit. Could be RB1 easy in this offense. The kid is uber talented. If you don't believe us, just go back and look at his stats last year for what he did on an atrocious offense with hardly no offensive line and no quarterback. You can pick. If he falls to you at 4, okay, I'm picking him up early all day long. And 4 is a great pick. You can't go wrong.
For sure. With Breece, I think there is a triplet or a quad where I'm pretty fine with taking basically any of those 3: CMC, Breece, Bijan. I'm pretty comfortable taking them anywhere in the top 4, like because I know there's going to be different makers. They're going to be really helpful as a running back, where there isn't a lot of running backs like that. He's a stud. He's really good. I don't know how much of Braylon Allen we're going to see. like I said, I think this offense runs through Brees. He catches the ball really well. He does everything you want in a running back. He does everything well. So I don't. It's gonna be really hard to take him off the field unless he's just dead tired.
Yep, agreed. And for them to win, he can't be dead tired, right? He's just going to be a super important cog in that offense. Our next position here is tight end. Conklin's their tight end. He's coming in at 168. I really don't have any desire to take a tight end on the Jets. There's just not enough there. We'll talk about wide receivers here in a second. Aaron Rodgers hasn't historically thrown to tight ends forever. There was a couple of times when the Packers kind of in his mid-early career, but I'm off tight ends in the Jets for sure.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in Dynasty I might look at Rucker, but like Matt said, like Aaron Rodgers does not use tight ends. I think the only relevant tight end he had was Tanyan had that really big year, and then Jeremiah Finley back in the day. But like he loves 3 wide receiver sets, and he likes throwing the ball like to those wide receivers. So I think Garrett Wilson should eat, and those wide receivers should eat. So there's no tight end I would invest in this offense.
A quick shout out, just real quick, Mike Easterling. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you joining the show. Super cool to be here. Leave us a comment, man. Hit the like button for us. Continue with those comments for sure. And to answer your question, Chance took the day off today, so he had some other things to do today, but he will be back next week for sure. We miss Chance. Hopefully he's having a good time.
For sure.
Going to the Jets wide receivers. So here's where it gets interesting to me for the Jets. Wilson at 14, and then it really drops off. You have Mike Williams and Corley, which is the rookie, right? Mike Williams is 135, Corley at 217. Wilson, I'm okay with getting at that turn, right? I have no problems that 1-2 turn, probably in the second round, early to late mid-second round. I'm cool with Wilson's the guy. I really like Corley. There's some good news coming out of him at camp. He's got some rapport with Rodgers, which, remember, this is really interesting. Rodgers doesn't typically like rookie wide receivers. That's not his thing. So you're kind of like, is that a real thing or is it not, right? I think it is. I like the Yak King coming out of college. I think that translates well into that offense. Deep threat now, mediocre, quick, get the ball out fast, let him do his magic. I am not touching Mike Williams with anything for me. He has burnt me too many times. So the 2 receivers that I like, let's get Wilson and take a deep flyer on Corley. He doesn't cost you anything in my mind. So again, if you guys like Aaron Rodgers and you like Wilson, that makes sense. I think Corley is a good pickup there too. I don't see him any better than a wide receiver 2 at best, right? So he's probably mostly a 3, but he's a good value at the end, very end of your pick, very end of your draft.
Yeah, I think Corley, like Matt said, like he's staying with Aaron Rodgers. Like they have a very good relationship. They seem to bond pretty quick. Like I don't think he's gonna come on super fast. He's probably gonna be like a week 9 on kind of guy that he got his sparks in that playoffs a little bit. But Matt, can you just tell me some of the receivers going around Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, for sure. If we have Wilson at 14, so around him, we'll go 2 above Puka Nacua, AJ Brown. The 2 above him are 9 and 10, and then Garrett Wilson at 14, and then Devontae Adams at 15, and Marvin Harrison Jr. at 19, Chris Olave at 20.
Wow, Marvin Harrison's that low?
He's well, and some people think he's too high. Right, depending on where you either on the Marvin Harrison train or you were off. It's pretty.
I might take Marvin over Garrett Wilson, but that's AJ Brown too. Those are probably the only 2 names.
In Dynasty, yes, and redraft, no.
That's tough. I think Marvin's gonna blow it, but that's for a late pick.
Yep, absolutely. It will be a leadership movie. And Mike is on here too, and he brings up a good comment. But the Jets did improve their offensive line. So substantially. So it's much better, right? So I like Aaron Rodgers, and obviously Breece Hall is a no-brainer. So cool. Yeah, that is the Jets. Go get your guys where you can get them in draft. We like those ones specifically.
Yes, sir.
On to the next. Let's talk about our Patriots. I should say, not our Patriots is what I should say. I'm kind of off on Patriots except for a couple players, but we'll get over them. Go ahead.
So to give a shout out to my boy Josh Alpa, his bold take was that the Bills would finish 3rd or 4th in this division, and the Patriots have a good shot at winning. But he is a Patriots fan, so I'll give him a break. He got to be successful with the Patriots for a long time, and he really gassed up their team. And I was just like, Josh, there's no way this team is going to be good. So with the Patriots, again, like I said, there's a big difference between these two teams and two teams in this division. So the Patriots were 30th in total offense, 28th in passing, 26th in rushing, 31st in scoring. So Van Pelt comes over from the Browns. He did not call plays, so it's kind of hard to know what he's going to do. Is he going to do a lot of what the Browns did, which was a lot of outside zone? They have a lot more athleticism on this O-line, so I think they will do that more than a power scheme. Lots of play action. I think with May as quarterback, the Patriots were 57% pass and 43% run. I think those numbers will almost reverse. I think they will be a very, very heavy run team. They did invest a little bit in running back this year, but as Matt will talk about, the wide receivers on this team are very bleak. Like, they didn't invest a ton in them. Like, they didn't have a ton of picks in this draft. They invested 2 picks in wide receivers. But like O-line wise, they signed a left tackle. They didn't really do anything else. They're moving their right guard out to right tackle. So I don't know. Like, this roster, like, is as bad as I don't want to make my friend feel. Like, this is the worst roster in football. Like, that's how I feel. There is not a lot of good players on this team. I think their running back room could surprise some people, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry, a second. I wanted to look up something real fast. Um, you're right. This team's kind of an unknown. I want to believe in him. I really do. I'm a big Jared Mayo fan. I think he could be a very good coach. I do think they're going to be run heavy, but I do want to let's talk about Brissett and May. So their ADPs. May is 189, Brissett 237. I don't have any faith in either one of them. I know in Dynasty, maybe I don't even know who you'd pick to even be your RB2. It's more of a kind of sit and wait. In redraft, you're probably not bringing any of them in. Maybe May starts to turn it on mid-season. It's hard to do that in fantasy for sure. So I don't know. In my mind, I'll let the New England fan GM own Drake May, right? Let him pick him up. And it's super late. In addition to, if you're going to believe in the quarterback, you have to kind of believe in the wide receivers, and there isn't it, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Brissett and May, Justin, who's starting there? Who do you think is starting?
I want them to start Brissett. I think you start Brissett the whole year. Don't put May out there and have like a Sam Darnold situation or a David Carr situation. Like, I think May can be really good. He has his highs they're Caleb Williams, like, same ceiling. Like, he is a very talented quarterback. Like, he's huge. He's athletic. All his siblings played college basketball and college baseball. Like, they're all very good athletes. Like, just be bad this year, and that's okay. Go draft some more guys to surround him. There's 2 good wide receivers that will come out next year. If you want to draft a receiver, or you want to sharpen the defense, or there's some good tackles coming out. Just looking forward to 2025. Like, just put Brissett out there and just let Drake May learn. Like, give him 2 years in the offense, and I know that's not what fans want to hear because you want to see the guy. Like, I don't want to see Penix this year at all.
Yeah,
and that's really hard for me. Because you want your cake, you want to eat it too, but like, just let him sit. So
it will be hard for New England fans. They are so used to winning under Belichick, and they've had a rough couple of years, and they're looking for their guy. Brissett's a capable guy. He's kind of that game manager. They're going to want to push May in there, and I kind of believe it. It used to be the quarterbacks would sit, and you would follow that but the Packers method, right? Jordan Love sits, Aaron Rodgers sit, right? Well, and grow. I just don't see teams do that much anymore. They get so much pressure of getting their top quarterback in there. And Drake May was a high draft pick. Let's put him in. Let's see what he can do. And I agree with you. I think they should sit him. They're going to have a top 10 pick. I don't think they traded away their first round pick at any time. So they'll have a 2025 top 10 pick for sure. I think that's easy. And it's possible. Mike put in there. He'll bust. It's very possible. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But for us in fantasy, stay away from the Patriots quarterbacks for sure. So running backs, here we go. Running backs. Garrett Stevenson, Antonio Gibson. Stevenson 63, Antonio Gibson's 143. I think Stevenson is an absolute steal in my mind, and I think Justin likes Antonio Gibson maybe a little better. I think Stevenson's gonna just ball out. I love him. He is a great later round draft pick, and and we both might be right on this. I think they're gonna run the ball a lot. So stay with it, right? Go get both of these running backs. They're gonna get a lot of carries. And I'm really big on Stevenson. He just signed a contract, I believe, or I think he just signed a contract. I have to look it up again. That maybe Justin have to look that up for me, but I think he just signed an extension. He's getting paid. He's a very, very good running back, and might be the cowbell on this offense.
Again, I don't know Stevenson one again, but I'll just talk about both of them while Matt probably looks that up. So Stevenson was their. I think he kind of was the focal point of that offense. I mean, they didn't have a lot to go with. I think they did sign Antonio Gibson for a reason. Like, as you remember, Antonio Gibson's one of those Memphis guys that came out, played a lot of wide receiver. I think he was pretty good in Washington. Like, he's a good running back. He didn't really get a chance. Brian Robinson took his job. It got kind of weird. They signed Austin Eckler, so he goes here. I think both of these running backs, I don't know which one it's going to be because I think they're both good. Rashawn Stevenson, Ramondre Stevenson did have a really good year 2 years ago. And then went kind of weird last year, but did play as well. They put Zeke in. So, again, it might be a split backfield again, but I think the rushing numbers will be up significantly. I think they'll run the ball a ton. I think they will throw the ball a ton to those two as well. Like, I think they'll trust those two over the wide receivers to get those short dumps. So, I think at the price, like you said, Stevenson 68, I'll take a flyer on Antonio Gibson to see what happens. Like, he could be the starter, but again.
Yeah, I'm still looking that up, but it's not. You're quite a few picks apart. It's okay to draft both of these running backs because they very well might both produce. So it's very possible. I can't find that where I think he signed an extension, but I could be wrong or was in the middle of one. It's okay. We can think about it later. But I'm on board with both of them. The offense has to go through somebody. It's going to be the running backs in my mind. Another the tight end position I also like. Hunter Henry's going in at 161. I know this tight end, the tight end is very deep this year, and Hunter Henry is one of them. And I think Hunter Henry finished pretty high last year, if I recall. And he is going at tight end 19. I will put money down on it right now. He finishes higher than 19 all day, every day. It's too easy. They have to go through somebody in the passing game. You put Brissett or Drake May in there, they're going to find Hunter Henry. It's so much logical sense to me. He's going to finish higher than 19. I mean, right now he's below Taysom Hill. I'm like, no way, not going to happen.
That's great. That's a crazy one.
I'm like, no, not going to happen. So go get Hunter Henry even as your second tight end, right? Maybe as a backup or whatnot with a high upside for him. So Hunter Henry's easy. Your thoughts on Hunter Henry, Justin?
So go back to Ramondre Stevenson. He will be a free agent after this year, so he has not signed a contract yet. So
he's looking for an extension. Got it.
Yep. So maybe he plays like crazy, like most running backs do when they're trying to get that second contract. And yeah, who knows? Who knows? With Hunter Henry, again, like Matt said, he's probably not a tight end that I love. There's a ton of tight ends in this year that are just really good. I think he's probably one that I would just say, I don't know. I'm a big tight end guy, so I like to have those onesie positions pretty locked down. I'd like to have one of those top notch guys. But like if you're not a top guy, like maybe like I said last week, maybe you get Hawkinson and then draft Hunter Henry to play those 6-7 weeks, and he's a nice flyer to get you probably 8 to 12 points a week.
So let me ask you this, and you're gonna be surprised by me saying this just because I'm a Bears fan, but I would take Hunter Henry over Cole Kmet right now.
I see it because Hunter Henry might be the one.
Exactly, right. And Cole Kmet is he's 15 tight end overall. So to me, that's too high. That's why I'm saying Hunter Henry's too low. He could be really the wide receiver one. And we're going to talk about the wide receivers here in just a second. So keep that in mind. Hunter Henry, put him on your radar, I promise. And nobody's going to pick him up, but he could be the one. Wide receivers for for the Pats, it's pretty bleak. So you have Bourne, Douglas, Polk, and Baker. Bourne 169, Douglas at 191, Polk at 190, and Baker at the rookie. Polk and Baker, those two rookies. Baker's at 247. So what I'm trying to say kind of feeds into what I think the ADP is already telling us. We don't trust the quarterbacks, and if we don't trust the quarterbacks, how are we going to trust the wide receivers, right? And even Hunter Henry going in at 161. Does that make sense, right? I hope everybody's seeing that. But I think there's some upside late. They got to throw to somebody. Hunter Henry's one of them, and I don't really know who we like anywhere in there. Maybe Polk, maybe Baker. I'm a big Baker believer. I think the kid is extremely too low, but I don't know if any of these guys are there. Maybe flex, maybe a wide receiver 3 at best. Don't reach for any of them. If they fall to you, then it's like, okay, maybe I'll take one here. Thoughts on that, Justin?
I think the only relevancy in this wide receiver room is dynasty. I'm only going to touch Polk, and I'm only going to touch Baker in dynasty. I am not touching anybody redraft league-wise in this offense at all.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I'm like, yeah, no thanks. And I think it's going to be pretty consistent throughout. So don't reach for any of your Patriots wide receivers. I just don't see it out of the gate. Maybe somebody breaks out. But I highly doubt it. Jumping from the Patriots, let's jump to the Bills. Another high-flying offense, and there's some intriguing things here, Justin. You're going to find out real quick. But tell us what you know.
So the Bills, just so everybody knows, their offensive stats are kind of weird just because they switched offensive coordinators, I think, week 10 to Joe Brady, who was the LSU coordinator for that national championship, and then he was with the Panthers. That whole coaching staff got fired. He ended up going over to the Bills as their quarterback coach. They fired their OC. Joe Brady takes over for Ken Dorsey. So the Bills ended up 4th in total offense, 1st in passing offense, 7th in rushing offense, and 6th in scoring offense. So their offense was really good. One nugget that we will talk about with running backs is Joe Brady loves James Cook. Like, he went from 13% usage to 22% usage in this offense. Like, he loves James Cooks. He loves using him, as you know. Like, James Cooks balled out at the end of the year. We'll talk about running backs when it gets to him with the Bills. They were 53% passing, 47% rushing. That kind of ties in with Josh Allen being a little bit of running quarterback. Yeah, they were significantly better on their ground once Joe Brady took over. Their passing game did take a dip, but when Josh Allen throws for touchdowns and runs for touchdowns, like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's the rushing upside of Josh Allen. Like, he's a stud. Like, he's the number 1 quarterback in my eyes when it comes to fantasy. They were 11 personnel and 12 personnel about 85% of the time. Those are most of the things. But yeah, Matt, let's talk about quarterbacks.
Yeah, so Josh Allen's easy, right? Everybody knows that. Nobody was expecting, unless those who absolutely love Josh Allen, he was expecting the Bills to make the playoffs. He single-handedly put the Bills on his back and said, we're making the playoffs. He just hands down did it by himself. Everybody has him as QB1. He's going 17th overall in his ADP. He makes sense. Josh Allen is a proven guy. Now, he's lost a couple wide receivers, right? Right. So he's lost significant targets. So here, and we're going to talk about kind of what that means. But you still can't go wrong with Josh Allen. Don't doubt Josh Allen. Even he's got new people around him. Don't doubt him. I promise. You don't. He will still find ways to win. He is a gunslinger. Yeah, he'll throw some picks here and there, but he's still a running threat. And even though, and we'll talk about Cooks here in a minute, but even though our coach likes the running backs, Josh Allen's still going to get those rushing touchdowns. Everything goes through Josh Allen for sure.
For sure. Josh Allen, so 2 tidbits here. As an owner of Josh Allen and a person that owned Lamar Jackson when he I think it was his second year he won MVP, like, they are such fun players to own in fantasy. Like, they just pop off like randomly for 40-point games, and you're rarely disappointed with your quarterback stuff. So, like, obviously you're going to have to pay a little extra for that onesie position, man. But man, it is so nice having them in your lineup, knowing they're probably going to get you 30 consistently. Like, they may throw a couple picks, like, whatever, but like, man, they're fun to watch, and like I love watching Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, two of the most exciting players in football. So
Yes, agreed. He's fine. He's 17. He's good. He's gonna be the first quarterback off most of the time. Some people might take Mahomes, but he's gonna be. He's gonna be. And if he falls for some reason, pick him up. Pick him up in that third round. You're golden. So, as we move off the quarterback on the Bills, we move off Josh Allen. I want to talk about the running backs a little bit. Yeah, you got Cook and Ray Davis, the rookie. So Cook is going 39 overall, and Davis is 164. So I'm not I'm not a big fan of Cook. Oops, just a second here. Because gosh dang it, sorry, I just clicked off my screen here. I'll get it. Sorry, here we go. I'm not a big fan of James Cook. Even though he got the ball, I think he only finished in the top I 10 just a handful of times last year, even with all that volume.
don't
I'm
worry,
not
I got a stat for you, man. Don't worry.
Yeah, I am not. I am off James Cook. Don't. He's going 39 overall, way too high for me. Way too high. And I believe that is QB 13.
Tell us
telling me
some of the running backs that are going around him.
Yeah, so around him, Rashad White, Pacheco, Kenneth Walker is above him. Josh Jacobs is two above him. I'm like, no. Below him, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris. They're down like at 18. He's at 12. So you're telling me he is could be a number one running back for somebody's team? No, not at all. None. No. I'm passing on him. Ray Davis is a rookie, a kid that runs really hard. I like him. He could vulture some touchdowns for Josh Allen, try to keep him healthy a little bit. But as far as I'm probably not investing I'm probably staying away from the Bills running back room. Is what I'm getting at. I prefer to, but give me your stat. I'm curious. Now you got me on curious.
I get it. Like James Cook is not. He might be victim weight. That shit says he's not big. He just catches the ball really well. Like I don't think he's as good as his brother. I think Dalvin was really good. James Cook is decent. Like, but he's in a really good offense, and Joe Brady loves him. So when Joe Brady took over week 10, right? So that's 7 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, whoops! I'm on the wrong thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they had a bye week. So Matt, as he alluded, he had 4 out of those 7 weeks as a number one running back. So a top 12 running back, which I'll take. Like if you're taking him that late, like I'll do it. Like he was super consistent at the end of the year, and if you're that consistent 4 out of 7 weeks, you're a top 12 guy. I'll take that any day of the week. Like James Cook isn't a sexy day. Like he isn't this or that. Like Josh Allen scores all the big touchdowns, but like man, they relied on James Cooks a lot, and he's gonna catch them all. So PPR format, like I like him a lot. Again, I'll probably invest in running back fast at first, just because there's only I feel like only a set amount of those guys that are consistent. But James Cook, he can be that. He can be top 12 running back easy.
Yeah, and that's where we're different. That's okay. That's why we talk about it. I want nothing to do with them, and that's okay. I think if you were going a little later, I'd be okay with it. He's all receiving. I think he only had 2 rushing touchdowns last year, and he had 4 or 5 receiving touchdowns. So everything is based on his receiving for him, and that's where it makes you a little nervous because they've got some new weapons for the Bills, and which we're going to get into. Tight end. Let's jump to tight end. So Kincaid and Knox. Kincaid is going at your ADP 53, and Knox is 245, way down there. I'm not opposed to owning both of them. If Kincaid gets hurt, Knox picks it up, right? Not a big deal, but because he's so late. You can get Knox super late. Kincaid is going to eat so much their share, it's ridiculous. You lost Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, which I'm trying to remember how many targets that was. It was 200, I think, or close to 200. It's a lot. It is a lot. So, and we'll get to receivers in a minute, but Kincaid is that flex out tight end. Knox is your blocking tight end. Kincaid's going to get fed. He's in his second year. He had a ton of receptions last year and even got hurt a little bit. But I am all on the Kincaid train. I have no problems picking him up at his ADP of 53. smash it, do it, light it up, go get him. It is 100% worth it. I will have a ton of shares of Kincaid.
So the vacated targets are 240.
Yeah, which is insane. That's an incredible amount.
That's so many.
So Kincaid had 91 targets. He will have over 100 targets easy.
Oh, for sure.
Easy. He had 2 touchdowns. He could have 8 to 10 touchdowns. Right? Just from the tight end. I'm all over it. He is a top 5 tight end easy. Not a top 5. He's a top 1 to 5 tight end. He could be tight end 1. That's in this offense. So who knows?
That's definitely Rage.
Smash it as long as he stays healthy.
So with the Bills again, they use 11 and 12 personnel about 83% of the time. So I think they will switch to more 12 personnel, which is glorified 11 personnel then because Kincaid is a glorified wide receiver.
Yep.
They would just put him in the slot. I think it'll be hard to take Knox and Kincaid off the field together because having 2 tight ends in your offense it is such a huge advantage because you can be so multiple. You can power run right away, or you can spread it out because Kincaid can run like a wide receiver and just kill the middle of the field. And you can have Keon Coleman and Curtis or Shakir, whoever your number 2 is, just running around. So you can do a lot of stuff. Plus, you can be pretty run heavy with James Cook and Josh Allen. So I think Kincaid is a smash this year. I don't know much about Dawson Knox. I probably won't pick him up, but Kincaid. Yeah. Man, he is a fun. He can be a really advantage with the onesie position. I get he's still young. He's not that breakout age for tight end. But Matt already said he had 91 targets as a rookie. That's a lot. And having 240 targets, that's crazy. They got to go somewhere.
Yes, agreed all day long. And it'll be fun. It'll be fun to kind of watch him see what happens this year. So as we transition to the wide receiver for the Bills, this is where it gets very interesting to me, especially with the ADP. Diggs historically, Gabe Davis was always top, right? They were always up there in the ADP, right? Diggs was probably in the top 10, top 15, top 12, whatever, right, as far as wide receivers. So here's what the ADP is right now because they bring in Curtis Samuel, they draft Coleman, right, and they had Shakir from last year. Samuel's ADP is 129, Keon Coleman's 114, and Shakir is 132. Do you see? You have QB1, and then you have all these wide receivers that are way, way low. The ball has to go somewhere. If you're going to say that he's going to be a tight end 1 and throw for a lot of yards, these values are way, way too low on all 3, if not one of them. And even though Kincaid is a 53, right, overall 53, we know he's going to go up, but the ball is going to go somewhere. So we just have to figure out who. All right. I think most people we talk to, you and I, we think Coleman's going to be the guy eventually. He may not be right out of the gate, but we think he's going to be. We want him that late. I'm also a big fan of Shakir and Samuel. So Justin, knowing that where their ADPs are, who are you taking? What's your thoughts? What are you going to go with that?
So they're all being drafted like a wide receiver 5. It feels like pretty low. So like Matt said, something's got to give. Either Josh Allen's going to crap his pants and support 3 wide receiver 5s, or he's going to support at least 1 wide receiver 1 or 2. I think it's probably wide receiver 2, so a top 24 wide receiver in Keon Coleman. Again, Matt said he might start off slow, but man, he's been working a lot of individual time with Josh Allen. So I mean, they got to build up that rapport. It might be Shakir and Curtis Samuels. I think Curtis Samuels is super underrated right now. I think he could be a really good wide receiver. Again, he hasn't had a good quarterback in Washington, never has, and he was pretty good coming out of Ohio State. Like Matt said, it's the number 1 quarterback for a reason. I get he has his rushing upside, but he's gonna support 2 really good wide receivers and probably really good tight end. Just because he can, that's what they do. That's what quarterback ones do. So yeah. I would bet on Keon Coleman.
So if we take 200, I agree. So let's take 200. You said 240, 230,
240,
240. So let's just do math. We know Kincaid had 90. Let's give him another 30 or 40 if you want. If you want to give him 130 targets, that's way up there for a tight end. We'll say 120, right? So that leaves us with 210 targets. So of that 210 targets, who's getting them, right? If you break out 210 targets and let's say Samuel had 90 targets last year, right? There's still
Hey,
100 and some targets left.
you know who's going to get 40-plus targets extra? James Cook.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just saying.
Maybe. I
Just
think they're
saying
going to
that.
want to push the ball down the field. And even if you give him another 20 targets, right? Okay,
Still a ton left over.
Still a ton left over, you know. And Coleman's that jump ball guy. I think they're going to, get the ball, push the ball down the field and get it to him. I think Shakir is going to find some space. All we're saying is you're getting extremely good value on these players for the Bills. Keep that in your back pocket. That's all we're saying. As time gets closer, I think the camp will break it out a little bit, and we'll figure out who's who. So pretty cool. Bills, put it in your back pocket, jot it down, go check out these guys, and don't tell your league mates. Right? It's like I will score a few of these guys on my draft for sure. Oh, moving on. The greatest show with no defense. The Dolphins. Let's talk about the Dolphins.
It's true. This is the number one offense in the NFL last year.
Yeah.
So they had the number one total offense, the number one passing offense, the number 6 rushing offense, and the number one scoring offense. As you know, like Raheem Mostert went off. They passed 57% of the time, ran 43% of the time. That's usually the plus minus you see with the run game. Very good run scheme, very similar to Shanahan. They use Tua as a point guard. Don't ask him to do too much. I really see the similarities between Tua and Purdy. They both are just point guards. They just distribute the ball really well to their playmakers. They run a lot of wide zone and West Coast passing stuff. They just let their running backs make one cut and they go. They did use 21 personnel, so 2 running backs. So the first time we've seen that division. 1 tight end, 2 wide receivers, the most. That was their most personnel package used, which is pretty interesting. Again, that could be 2 running backs. That could be a running back and a fullback. And then their next was 11 personnel, which makes sense. Again, Raheem Mostert went off last year. I mean, they drafted another running back. Man, this offense is fun to watch. But like Matt said, they don't play a lot of defense. So.
No, not at all. It's interesting. I still worry about Tua. We'll start off with Tua here right out of the gate. So his ADP is 97. Is good value. He threw for over 4,500 yards last year, 20 something touchdowns, 14 picks, something wrong those lines. I'll tell you just like that. 29 touchdowns, 14 picks. Had 560 attempts. So throwing the ball all over the place, right? His value's good. I think the thing you worry about too is just he's 1 injury away. It makes you kind of nervous, but he is on a scoring offense. I think in Dynasty he's a great QB2. I'm not so sure that I want him in his ADP. I wish he was a little bit lower. I'm kind of off of him. I think there's other QBs that I would like, but I would certainly understand if you want him because he's on a very high scoring offense.
Yeah, like Mike can say in the chat, Tua might be victim weight right now. He's lost a ton of weight. He's like 205, so he's right on the edge. So with Tua, like I don't know, like he was really good at the beginning of the season. So weeks 1 through 8, he was pretty good. Had a couple top 12 finishes, and then he just went downhill. A bunch of outside the 20 finishes. Like, I don't know if that's going up playing the Patriots, going up playing the Bills, like playing those teams in those weathers. But like, I don't know. Like, I don't love him because he doesn't bring any rushing value to you. Again, he's going to throw the ball a ton. And he's got really good playmakers to make him look better. But I don't see a lot of upside with him, especially at his spot. He doesn't have much of a ceiling, so he's one that I'd probably stay away from.
Yep, I agree. Moving on to the running backs. So this one's interesting, right? I think we got a 3-headed monster here a little bit. So you have Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, and then the newly acquired rookie Jalen Wright. So here's what I want you to understand. I'm going to tell you ADPs first, and then I'm going to kind of line you out kind of what's going on. So Achane's going 21 overall. I kind of get it. He's put on some weight, but we'll see how that. We'll talk about more in a second. Raheem Mostert, who was their leading rusher last year, is going 90 overall. And then Jalen Wright is 139 as the rookie. We don't know, but fits that system to a T, right? Gets super fast, and so on and so forth. So you kind of ask yourself, all right, who's the owner of this backfield? Okay, let's start with Mostert, right? The guy tore it up last year. However, I think he's 32 years old. He just turned 32 years old. That's well past running back prime. I'll be honest. I'm not touching Mostert anywhere. They can tell me you draft him as a backup. I'd rather not. Okay. To me, he's running back 3. He's if he doesn't get injured, and I hope he doesn't. But the guy rushed for over 1,000 yards last year and 18 touchdowns. I'm staying away from him. He's too old, and he's really Walker Walker age in the NFL. So that's Raheem Mostert. The next one is Devon Achane. So Devon Achane was a rookie last year. Okay, I'm going to tell you a stat, and I think most people know it already, but I'll give it to you. 103 carries for 800 yards. His average
that's so crazy.
7.8 yards a carry. That's why everybody's so hyped about him, okay? Everybody's like, Achane. Now, he got injured, and so he was out for quite a while. That's why Mostert took over. That's why his ADP is at 21. He is bulked up this year. If you've seen some things on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, he's bulked up. He looks good. Fair enough. Then you have Wright at 139. Rookie, again, I already mentioned, fits that system. Okay, so this is a weird backfield. I'm staying away from Mostert. I don't like Achane at too high. I just don't. I think he's a very good running back, and I could be wrong. If you like him at 21, I would not balk at you, but I'm 100% getting Wright later. I'm going to pair those two together in my redraft league. If I can get them in Dynasty, certainly that's easy. That's a no-brainer. Smash both of them. But don't draft Mostert. Let somebody else pick him up. Take those two at their ADPs, even though I'm probably not going to take Achane that high. I hope that makes sense, but I don't fault you if you want to do it. If you're going to do one, do the other. That's my advice on that. Justin, your thoughts?
So I'm going to talk about the O-line. Mike wants us to talk about O-line a little bit. So they lost their starting. They lost their starting center, and they lost their starting right guard, who got paid fat money to go to the Panthers. I think he got paid over $100 million. So probably a pretty decent guard. That's going to have some impact on the run game a little bit. Break it in. 2 new starters. I don't think they're going to start their rookie out of Houston. Teron Armstead has been one of the best tackles in the league for a long time. He has contemplated the retirement, I think, for the past 5 years. So he's dealt with a lot of injuries. So does that run game take a little bit of a hit with the interior taking a hit? Maybe a little bit. Devon Achane, like that 7.8 yards, that ain't gonna be a thing next year. There's no way you can sustain that. That is absurd. Like I just don't see it. Like I'm not taking him at 21. I don't take running backs that little that I don't think can hold up that long. Raheem Mostert just had a great season. Like super happy for him. Like, if I'm going to take anybody, it's probably going to be Jalen Wright, because I feel like one of these guys is going to get hurt. And I feel like it's either going to be the old man on the block, which he's almost the same age as me, so that's kind of tough, or Devon Achane. Like, Devon Achane missed 6 games last year. Like, and Matt said he only had 108 carries. Like, obviously he didn't hold up. So 21 is rich for me, real rich.
I think it's important to recognize too, because you bring up a good point. You know, if you were able to extend his season out and he got more carries, that average would have went down, right? He'd probably not be at the 7.8. He may have been, I don't know, maybe he's in the 4 range, 5 range, and that's fine too. The kid is ultra explosive. We get that. Just don't be overhyped about him. I like the kid. He's explosive. It's fun to watch him. He's great. I just want some insurance. If you're going to, that's why I keep saying, if you're going to get him at 21. Get the insurance with Wright. That makes a lot of sense to me. So it's up to you. I'm probably going to pass that high. If he falls a little bit, I'll pick him up, but I'm not going to take him at 21. Yep. Tight ends. I'm not going to spend a lot of tight ends for Miami. Johnny Smith, 28 years old, 50 receptions, 3 touchdowns. They don't throw a lot for their tight ends. Not really worried about it. So I'm not going to spend any wasting time. 183 in his ADP. Not worried about it.
I love Johnny, but he's not draftable.
Correct. Wide receivers. This is the bread and butter for Miami. We already know Tyreek Hill. He's going number 3 ADP. Everybody kind of keeps wondering when he's going to fall off. We don't know. Maybe does he fall off this year? He's talked about retirement a couple of times. We'll see. I think he's still valuable at 3. If you want him there, that's fine with me. Waddle's going in at 38. And then they picked up Odell as 248. I'm not interested in Odell whatsoever. We'll just leave him off the list. So, but I do want to talk about Waddle. Waddle's one of those guys. He seems to go a little bit too high for me every year. 38 still seems high, to be honest. He was a 1,000-yard receiver, 72 catches, 4 touchdowns. But the 4 touchdowns, right? At that high, I think last year, I think you and I both talked about it. His ADP was too high for us back then. If he falls a little bit and you really like him, maybe you want to pair him up with Tua. Maybe okay, but I'm not on the Waddle train this year.
Okay, I'm gonna differ with you on this. I think people have swung too far the other way. Like Waddle had a really good rookie year. Like I really think he's a really good wide receiver. Like up there with the Drake Londons, the Chris Olaves, the Garrett Wilson, the Devontae Smith. I think he's that talented. I think in Dynasty, if you could go get him for cheap, go get him now because his price is pretty low right now. Like I love those young wide receivers that like he's just a speed freak. He runs routes really well. Like in the touchdown thing, like he gets touchdowns. Like he just had a really weird year where he only had 4 and their running back had 17, whatever it was. That will not happen again. Their running back will not have 18 touchdowns again. There's just no way. Some of those touchdowns, I believe, will go to Waddle. I think he'll be back around 8 or 9. Tyreek Hill's a menace. He might be the best receiver in the league. In redraft, he should be in the first round, the first 5, 6 picks. And Dynasty, like he's still a really good commodity. He's one of the few commodities, like a CMC, that you're gonna ride until the wheels come off. Because I think he's gonna retire when he's still at the top. I don't think he's gonna keep going. Like he's just a freak. Like he's not just a speed guy. He runs routes really well. He has good hands. Like he's a really good player.
I think to remember, so the difference between Tyreek Hill and Waddle, and I'll explain it in targets. So Waddle had 104 targets. Hill had 171.
Whoa!
Yeah. So I mean, do you see what I'm saying? They're feeding. They fed Hill. He does what he does, and then they run the ball and rush it in. And I'm trying to see if Waddle missed any games last year. I don't think he did, but he's been injured a couple times in the past. So I'm not saying he's a bad receiver. He just doesn't seem like he gets involved as much for that high of a draft capital at the 38. If he gets into the 40s, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But anywhere in the 30s, I'm probably 42 and greater. I'm all right. Okay, let's do that.
He missed 3 games last year. So.
Yeah. But anyway, that is our AFC. Our AFC East, right? That's that AFC East breakdown.
There you go, man.
I nailed it this time. Justin, any final thoughts about guys what you learned in this, or who you want to target, and what we found out?
I think I'm going to go back to the Patriots on this because my boy Josh. Like, again, I don't want anything to do with 2 of these offenses, to be totally honest. And like, I just don't think they're good teams. But that's just me. Like, I just don't know what to do. Like the Jets, like they scare me a little bit. Aaron Rodgers is a little scary, but like, sorry, just one of the offenses, I guess, with the Patriots. I really do think one of those running backs, Ramondre and Antonio Gibson, is gonna pop. In a 0 RB approach, I would take either one of those guys because I think they're gonna be that good. And with the Jets, again, I'll cover them a little bit. Breece Hall is a guy. Like, if you're scared about anything with that offense, they invested so much in that offensive line. And I don't think it's to rely on Aaron Rodgers. I think they know their best player is Breece. And it's him by a wide margin, in my opinion. I think he's way better than Garrett, and that's saying something. Like, Breece Hall is a dude in this league. He's a top 3 running back, and I think he'll be a top 3 fantasy player.
Yeah, my 208 aha moment for me is Stevenson. I really think Stevenson's going to be a guy. I don't want anybody else on the Patriots but Stevenson. Go get Stevenson at ADP at 161. It's very reasonable with a ton of upside. If you miss at 161, not a big deal. But anyway, that's my 208 aha moment for sure. Justin, I think that's going to wrap it up for us here on this Thursday evening. We will try to be here Thursday evenings, everyone. So if you're going to hang out and try to catch us, Thursday evenings is where we'll be. We'll recap all the NFL news and do another division breakdown. I think that's kind of our go until we get through. We will do
Yep.
some more mock drafts here probably in the next month or so. Dynasty drafts are starting to dwindle down, and really redraft is starting to pick up right now. We want to get all those breakdowns, get you all the information we can to help you win those leagues. But until then, we'll see you next Thursday, and 208 is out. Enjoy your evening.